All right, so let me set this up, and I think, let me check here. Yes. So today is February 7th, and it is 8:50 p.m. U.S. Central Time. And my name is Rinaldo J. Aguiar Marcano. And this is demo D103, so 103. And this is going to be a very interesting demo. For different reasons, right? I would like to start by saying that I think that, so I have this system, right, that plans for transmission and reception of data using geographical points and different channels. I kind of explain a little bit how it works, right? And it plans on both sides, right? Like I'm not gonna give much details, but it plans where I should go, right? I think the thing is gaining its own consciousness. Like it's behaving in a way that it's really surprising. Anyhow, we're gonna explore new places today. So that's one thing, right? So I'll start by talking about the information I received this morning, right? So I went this morning early to pick up messages and send messages. And I got good intel, very useful, very useful. So I'll start by saying that according to the informant, like these things I'm gonna say are what I got from the informant, right? So I don't have well, let's wait until we get out of here. So this suckers don't. Yes, so informant. Yes. So the informant told me, so I don't know, for people that are just catching up, yesterday, February 6th, I sent a sealed package to the Supreme Court of the United States in Washington, D.C. Basically suing Judge Hitler, right, for acting tyrannical, like as a tyrant. He basically struck out of the record a complaint against himself, right, which is unconstitutional, right? And he's a federal judge and a very senior. I think he's one of the most senior judges in that court. To give you an idea how senior he is, he got appointed to that job by President Reagan on the year 1986. So I was only like 6 years old when he got appointed to that job that he had, right? Imagine that. So anyhow, I sent that yesterday, right? I sent it on a sealed package, and I took the precaution of creating an affidavit in front of a notary, verifying that the package was sealed, right? And that I put all the contents in the package. Well, the informant, imagine this, right? Like, put this in perspective. The informant that is passing me information, who is a guy that works in the army intelligence in Venezuela, right? With Diosdado Cabello. I mean, it's not, supposedly he doesn't work in the drug cartel, but he works in the actual military, right? So in the morning today, which was maybe, I can tell you, right? It was like 12 hours after I sent the package, right? He told me what the package contained. Like, he told me because, if you watch the demo 102, you will see that I tried to mislead them, right? I told them that I was going to sue Telfair, right? To confuse them, right? The informant told me this morning that I didn't sue Telfair, that I sued Hitler, right? Which is true. That's exactly what I did. Why would I sue Telfair, right? I mean, yes, he has the child kidnapped, but Telfair is a small game, right, in comparison to Hitler. And the place where I can get them all is in the federal court, not in the trial court, in the lower state court, right? So the informant this morning knew that piece of information. Imagine that. Right, in less than 12 hours, right? So, and he told me, yes, we opened the package. I mean, he said, he spoke in first person plural, we, right? So it was the Venezuelans. No, he didn't actually tell me the Venezuelans, but the way it sounded like, it was that, department. So of course they opened the package, and the judges, saw the contents. I mean, I don't know, right? I don't know what was the format in which was transmitted. I don't know if it was photographs, or I don't know, right? If they scanned it, honestly I don't know. But they read it, right? And the informant also told me the reaction. He told me that the feedback was that they thought that I was an amazing litigant, but they're still not understanding that it's not me. It's a cluster of computers, right, that are creating these documents and this strategy. So they still don't understand the situation. I mean, they don't understand the essence of the conflict, right? They think they're fighting with me. They're fighting with computers. But anyhow, and he used the word, because my system sometimes it mistranslates things, right? Because I use translation to obfuscate the bytes, so it's harder for them to find them, right? Speaking of that, I should tell you about the IRS letter, because it has to do with that, with obfuscation of bytes. But I'll tell you about that in a bit. I don't know this guy. Okay. Okay, so where was I? Yes, so I don't know if the word he told me something else, that they think I'm dangerous. That's what I got on my side, but it could be a mistranslation, because my system does multiple passes on different translations to obfuscate the data, right? So they can apply cryptanalysis based on statistics. But the word I got was dangerous, right? So they think I'm dangerous. But I think, I don't know how to articulate this, right? But I mean, these judges, right? They should know that if they have the child kidnapped, is for a reason. Like, that's not random, right? They have the child kidnapped precisely because these people think that I'm dangerous to them, right? That's the reason why the child is kidnapped. If I wasn't dangerous to them, the child would not be kidnapped, right? It's pure logic. So I don't know. It was kind of funny that they're just realizing now, after 10 months, that I might be dangerous to them, right? But what was funny about that is that this is the second time that he tells me that somebody thinks I'm dangerous in less than 3 days. The first time was, I think it was on February, so the incident was on February 5th, I think, when I filed the document, the 5th amended complaint, on the Southern District of Texas, right? After I filed that, right, that's when I recorded that demo in which I said that Greg Abbott was the master, but I corrected that yesterday, right? I think he's not really the master. I think he is an user of this platform, right? Provided by China and Russia. After I recorded that, I went out to buy the orange paper to sue Hittner in the Supreme Court. And when I was in the store, I was doing QA on that recording with my phone. I had it on a speaker, like on a speaker, out loud, right? Like people could hear what I was listening, right? Too. I mean, my own recording. It wasn't super loud, like I had it a super low volume, but people could hear, right? And I kind of did it on purpose. Like, so these agents that are following me on foot have an opportunity to listen to the dimension of the problem they're in, right? Maybe they, desist. So after I did that, the next morning, I think it was, I can't recall exactly what it was, but I got a message from the informant saying that those people at the staple, or somebody who was listening to that audio, said that I was dangerous, that I was a danger to this society, right? I mean, to their bizarro state. So that was funny. So it's the second time in 3 days that I hear this phrase, right? That I'm dangerous. But again, right? I mean, I think these agents should also apply logic. If they are seeing that these people are employing 2,000-3,000 vehicles every day to follow me, it's for a reason. Like, obviously they think I'm dangerous, right? I'm not really dangerous, but because I have the data that they gave to me, then they consider me a danger, right? Anyhow, so that was one thing. Before I forget about the IRS thing, so this has been a challenge, right? So this is what they did. Remember that in one of the demos, right, I mentioned the multiple times that they have tried to harm me with the IRS, right, like triggering an audit, and at the end, after I said that in a demo, they desisted, because of course it would show that Diosdado Cabello is controlling the IRS of Greg Abbott in Austin, right? So they desisted from that, but they're still, trying to do something, right? So they sent me a letter recently, which I already added it to the folder of Greg Abbott in the Google Cloud storage bucket. But and these are, like the informant told me that this is he warned me, right? That this is a trick, right? It's a trick in different ways, right? One, if I don't respond, they will do something, like they will trigger an audit. Like I have to respond to that letter. But beyond that, he told me he wasn't sure, because he's not technical, right? He didn't know exactly the mechanics, but when he warned me, I read the letter and I understood. Well, I think I understood, right? So what he told me was that the letter was designed to facilitate decryption of my connection, right? So I go and look at the letter on that optic, right? Because, when I opened the letter, I did not think of this, but after he told me, I read it and I understand. So the letter is worded in a very specific way, okay? And it's the following. It has a lot of boilerplate language, like, very generic phrases everywhere, like in the first paragraph, in the last paragraph, like at the beginning and at the end. The letter, if you read it, it doesn't really say anything meaningful, right? But around the second or the third paragraph, it has two specific form IDs, right? I can't recall the numbers, but imagine that I say to you, IRS form 123.459, right? And in the next line, I say form 783248, right? So I don't know, some combination of numbers like that, right? So the trick lies, I believe, right, with what the informant told me. I believe the trick is that because these numbers, if you think about them as unigrams, as tokens, they are very rare, right? So these are strings of text that are unlikely to occur in any text in English, right? Except in this letter, and particularly together, right? Because they're asking me for two different forms. So the trick is that they're going to be listening to the spectrum, right? With all the sensors in the houses of John Miko and with all these cars, and they're going to be looking for byte streams encrypted that when decrypted could decrypt to that, right? So that gives them an anchor for cryptanalysis, a tremendous advantage, because it's, it reduces the number of possible keys they have to search from, trillions to maybe a handful, right? So this would make decryption trivial, right? So if I make the mistake of transmitting this letter via my uplink, or because this is the other problem I have, right? My pipeline is not built to answer IRS forms, right? Or this kind of letter from the IRS. My pipeline analyzes legal documents, and I don't have a corpus of IRS audits, right? So this is something that I need to pass to the informant, right? And I already passed it to him, but he's trying to help me produce a response to this, right? He's working on getting me an accountant that can answer this question for me, a person, right? Because my pipeline will not be able to answer this. But when he transmits that to me, the form numbers are going to be something that they could catch, right? And it would allow them to decrypt the channel. So this is challenging, right? And I'm working on a solution for this problem. I'll get to that. But that's the trick. So they designed this letter in a way that would make the decryption trivial for the Chinese team and the Russians, right? So it's interesting, and it's interesting that these people have the hooks on the IRS to that level, right? And the letter came from the IRS in Austin. It's not the IRS in Washington or in the central processing center of the IRS. It's the one in Austin, right? Which I imagine is heavily under the control of the political authorities in Austin, right? Like Greg Abbott. So that's the challenge with the IRS letter, right? So I'm working on a solution for this. I have it almost ready, and that's why I haven't responded, because I need to first build the infrastructure that will allow me to get the response from the informant, and I have it almost done. So hopefully by tomorrow I will be able to respond to that letter. So that's that. Right? The other thing that this is interesting. So here's a vehicle with the X and the 0, right? So this is the Ford Focus, I think. X as in Zulu, Golf 3170. It's possibly an interceptor. And there is a Land Rover on my left that is also steady. This one is a W, right? No, Nicole Lima Victor 3509. Nicole Lima Victor 3509. So anyhow, another X0, that black Audi, but he's doing like 90 miles per hour. I'm not gonna follow him. This one, Romeo Kilo Lima 9500. That guy is important, probably Venezuelan. Okay, where were we? Yeah, the IRS letter, right? So I'm working on that, and I'll be able to reply soon. Now, let's switch gears, right? Because so this is a very funny part, right, of the conversation. So the informant gave me a lot of good intelligence about what is that they're planning for the February 12th hearing, right? Before I get into that, I would like to highlight that, remember, I was able to foresee what they were going to do with this thing, with the contempt of court and all that, before opening the letter, because the informant that works with Teodoro Cabello told me, right? And this is recorded on the video with a timestamp. So this proves that these attorneys from the Roberts, Marker, Weinberg, Haley, Botley, PC, they are working with USAR, right? It's that proves it, right? And that this is a campaign of harassment. because otherwise, how could I have known that before opening the letters, right? But now, the informant gave me more information with more details about what is that they're going to do. And I tested something today, and it is true. That's what they're going to do. So let me give you the whole story, right? I mean, it's a series of things, right? It's a series of small things, but you put them together, and you know, it might work. I don't know, right? So it's amazing, right? Like the kind of things that these people do. But I mean, amazing in the sense that, you know, that they go to this level of design, right? But at the same time, it's naive, right? Because I mean, I already sent this thing to the Supreme Court of the United States, which on itself is interesting, right? Because it means that they're going to risk the chicken wing. That's what it means. I mean, what I'm going to tell you in a few minutes, or in the following minutes, the logical conclusion from that is that they're moving forward and that they're going to risk the chicken wing, right? That's what it means, right? So listen to this. Okay, so the high level picture of what they're going to do is supposedly, right? And again, if they do this, and I mean, I know what they're going to do, because the informant that works with somebody, Diosdado Cabello, who is wanted by the DOJ for narco-terrorism, told me, right? So if they do this, it would mean that these people are working with the narco-terrorists. There's no other conclusion you can get out of this, right? Except that. So anyhow, the high-level picture of this is that they are going to find the company in contempt, but they're going to pierce the corporate veil, and they're going to find me personally in contempt of court and put me in jail, right, to remove me from society, and that way eliminate the threat that I represent to them, right? Because I'm dangerous, as you know, I've heard 2 times in 3 days. So that's the high level idea, right? But the informant told me the mechanics of the thing, right? So he told me that over the last few months, these people have been planting objects in the front yard, like, and excuse me here, because you know, I'm a second language English speaker. I may not have the right terms, right, for to describe this, but I think the right word would be debris, right? So, and it's true, like I did the yard. After the informant told me this morning, I started working on the yard immediately to see what is that they had put in there, right? And it is true, like in the front yard, I mean, I have to give you context, right? This property has 1 acre of terrain, of land, right? It's a huge lot. And you know, I'm working inside of the house all day. I'm not, you know, walking through the front yard. I did not see these objects, right? They're not visible from the cameras. So I did not know that these objects were there, right? But I did the yard after the informant warned me of what they're going to do. So I started beautifying the yard, right? To disable that narrative, right? And you know, don't get me wrong, I know that this is not about the yard. Like the judge is going to decide whatever the judge decides, even if the yard is pristine. That doesn't matter. Like, and I told you that yesterday, like, do you think I want my child to be kidnapped by the courts? Of course not, right? And you can see the amount of effort, time, and energy and engineering I've put into getting the child back. Do I have the child back? No, right? Because it doesn't depend on what I do. That's the concept of tyranny. That's what a tyrant does. The tyrant decides, right? And it's whatever the tyrant wants. So it doesn't matter, really, you know, how pristine the yard is. If the judge wants to do it, they will do it, right? But anyhow, to make it more obvious for the FBI, when they inevitably arrest these people if they go ahead, I, you know, put the yard in the best possible conditions. And I have to tell you, the yards of the 2 neighbors, who are part of the network, of course, are terribly maintained. Like they have weed, and the grass is super tall. Like, you know, you can see that my yard looks better than theirs, right? So if they're gonna put anybody in jail for the yard, should be them, right? But anyhow, so I'm cleaning the yard, right? And I start finding all these objects. I'm gonna describe the objects that I found. I found socks. There were socks. Imagine that, socks thrown in the front yard, right? And they were like brown socks. And this is interesting because I don't own any brown socks because I don't like that color of socks. So those are not my socks, right? But they put some, like used socks on the front yard. They also threw in, they looked like lids of, they were like plastic lids of coffee containers. I imagine this is because I talked about the poisoning with the coffee, right? So, because they're gonna paint me as a crazy person, now, they put like pieces of plastic belonging to a coffee container in the front yard, right? There was debris, like pieces of plastic, like broken plastic, and there was a broken, like a ball, like a dog ball, like those balls that you buy to play with the dog, but broken in like dozens of pieces, right? So the backyard, if you look at that scenario, right? If you go to a suburban house in a neighborhood that has houses that are worth millions of dollars, and you see this front yard with broken socks and lids of coffee containers and debris everywhere, you would think this person is crazy, right? I mean, it would make sense to think that this person is crazy, right? These are not things that you would find in a neighborhood like this, right? These are $1 million houses, right? So that's one of the things that they did, right? They planted all that, but I imagine, right, that's for the arrest. So when the police comes to arrest me, they will fill the report and they will note all these objects in the front yard, right, to kind of corroborate that I'm crazy. So that was one thing. The other thing he warned me is that the piercing of the corporate veil is because they nullified the registered agent agreement of the company in Delaware. I mean, this is very specific to the U.S. and to Delaware in specific, but if you register a company in Delaware and this company is registered in Delaware, I mean, the company that owns the property, right? And they're suing the company, not me, right? If the company is registered in Delaware, you have to have a registered agent in Delaware, right? And I had one, which is called, I'm gonna give the name so the FBI can take the high ground, right? It's called Harvard Business. And this is interesting because this registered agent was recommended to me by Maxim, right? Maxim Tarasuk, who is an FSB agent that was trying to steal key opinion leaders by making, false intellectual property claims, right? For Miller, basically, and the other guy, David F. Hine, right? Ohio. Anyhow, sorry, there's a lot of traffic here. Let's turn this on. Okay, so yes, so Harvard Business, right, is the name of the registry, right? So he told me that they had canceled around the time when they entered that order, around the same time when they entered the order on October, more or less on the side. I don't know exactly the day in which they canceled it, but he told me that there was coordination between the two things, between the canceling of the registrar and the entering of the order, right? So there was time, the entering of the order, they could have entered that order before that date, right? But they waited until they could cancel the registrar to then enter the order, to justify piercing the corporate veil, to then justify finding me in contempt personally, right, for the jar sign. So that's the play. It's with the registrar, right? But how do I say this, right? Is it reasonable to put a person in jail for putting a private property sign on a yard after he's been harassed for a year and a half by Phil Denning, who is the president of the HOA, who's part of the RICO enterprise? No, but if they want to do it, they will do it, right? So anyhow, what I'm gonna do from my side, I'm gonna take all the steps so it makes it super obvious if they do it, right? So I'm gonna, revive the registered agent, and of course the risk is that I imagine that they own the registered agent for two reasons, right? One, because it was recommended to me personally by Max, right, who was trying to steal the entire company. And secondly, because of the name. I haven't looked in the geo index. I'm gonna look it up, right? But the name, and this is I'm not gonna get too much into the technical details, but the name Harvard Business tells me that it's probably a controlled company, right? It's probably a controlled company, right? So, sorry if I'm talking slow. It's just that I'm a bit lost in this area. Like, I'm not familiar with this area very much. So anyhow, yeah, okay, so I have to check it out, right? But like, I may choose a different registrar. Like, if I see that it's too heavy under their control, I will probably choose a different one, right? So I will try to revive it on Monday. I cannot do it on the weekend because it's closed. I mean, the government entity that does this thing is closed on the weekends. But I already Googled it, and it seems like they have in Delaware there is a way to revive the company. To revive the registrar, right? To in a matter of 1 hour, even, right? It could be done in 1 hour. So I should be able to do it on Monday. And by the time the 12th arrives, that will be disabled, right? So I have pictures of the yard showing that the yard is pristine. And also the guy in front who is Joel Gray, right? The CFO of Baxter, I think it is, right? He has not one but two huge signs on the yard, right? So before they put me in jail, they should put him in jail, right? Because he has two signs, and if the signs are illegal, they should be illegal for everybody, right? Not only for me or my company, right? Right, so I took pictures of the yard showing that my yard is better maintained than the two neighbors, and I uploaded that to the folder of Greg Abbott, because all this is coming from Greg Abbott, really. Like, it's, because I reported him to the IRS, right? So I added it to the folder of Greg Abbott, the pictures of my yard, so if they put me in jail, everybody will be able to see that this is unfair, right? That this is harassment directly by Greg Abbott, right? because I reported him to the IRS. So taking the child is not enough, right? And he's also had to harass me with the HOA, where Robert Mueller, his co-worker, lives. Go figure. Okay. Let's see what else. Okay, so when I got this information this morning from the informant, as I mentioned before, my reaction was to work on the yard, right, to make it more obvious what they're doing, right. So something interesting happened, right, and here I have to say, right, I honestly have no proof. Like, it might be that it's just a coincidence, right, what I'm going to say, right. But given the circumstances, I mean, what the informant just told me in the morning, and I checked the register thing, and it's true. The registrar quit on me, right? And I didn't notice this because, you know, like, they had my child kidnapped for 10 months. Like, I have other priorities than fight with Phil Denning over at yard side, right? But the informant told me this morning, and I went and checked, and it is true. The registrar quit, right, around the time they entered the order in the court. So I start working on the yard, right? And now here I'm gonna say some things that imply detail on the layout of the property, right? So what I'm going to say, you may not, you know, if you don't you don't look up the property in a map, you won't be able to understand what I'm gonna say in full, right? But what I'm gonna say. So the address of the property is 2302 Britton Ridge Drive, Katy, Texas 77494, and it's 300 feet away from the house of Robert Mueller, who was the director of the FBI for several years and is a co-worker of Greg Abbott and a party colleague. Like, they are in the same political party, right? So before I start working on the yard, I had the tractor. I have a small tractor, right? Because it's a huge land. It's 1 acre. I cannot do this with a grass cutter, with a regular. I have a small tractor to do this, right? So I had the tractor on the back of the property, but I also have the problem that the tractor, the blades are too wide and they don't fit through the gate. So I had to disassemble the thing to be able to take it, to pass the tractor to the back or to the front of the property, right? So as I'm doing this, I have the tractor parked in the area of the backyard that is next to John Miko's house, okay? Because that's where the gate is. And I have to park the tractor there to be able to disassemble the blades, because they're heavy. I don't want to be carrying the blades from the back of the backyard, right? Sorry. Okay. So I have the tractor parked in there, okay? I'm sorry, I'm trying to find an address, right? Okay, I think it's here. Yes. Okay. So let me tell you what I did, right? I came, so I am right now in front of the headquarters of the FBI in Houston to see if these motherfuckers are going to follow me here. They don't, right? They all of them turn right on the hotel that is next to. I'm sorry for the bad word. Although I gave this disclaimer before, right? I may use profanity sometimes, like in occasions that merit it, like this, right? So you see, now nobody's following me, right? They've been following me since I left my home, but now nobody's following me, right? What if I go to that McDonald's to eat? Would they try to poison me there, so close to the FBI? I don't know. Like, these are questions that come to my mind. And of course, I have to wonder who lives next to the. I'm gonna do an exercise and look who are the prominent agents next to the FBI headquarters. I'm gonna do that exercise in a minute. But let's keep going with the demo. Yeah, nobody follows me. You see, they're not that. How do you say that? They're not that brave, right? As they seem at the end, right? When it matters, they're brave in Katy, right? They're brave. They do whatever they want. But here they don't seem to be. Although, I have to tell you, this gas station behind the headquarters of the FBI seems to be, taken. It has all the characteristics. It checks all the boxes in my checklist. So anyhow, where was I? Yes, the tractor, right? So I put the tractor, I parked it next to, so in between, in the side of my backyard that is next to John Miko's backyard, right? And I'm disassembling the array of the blades, okay? And as I'm doing this, I have to go inside, and I did this to make a test, to see if they would, do something, right? Because I know that for them it's important that I don't cut the grass, because they're planning to create this narrative with all this debris that now I know, because the foreman told me, that they planted in the front yard. And if I do the grass, if I beautify the front yard, I'm going to find all this debris and put it on the trash, right? As any regular person would do. So I park the tractor in there, and I go inside the house. Now I have to tell you, that part where I parked the tractor, and I parked it in there because it was inside of my fence, and because it's also a blind spot. That's the only place where I don't have visibility with the camera. There's a blind spot in that place, right? And I think that's the place that they use to jump over the fence to, modify the vault and all those things that they do. They have to be coming from Miko's house, right? And I'm saying this because if authorities are watching this, or if they do later, I'm sure that they have satellites that can see these things, right? I imagine, there's technology to see these things from a satellite. So probably if somebody looks at today, this thing that I'm describing happened on February. Today is the 7th, I think, right? Yes, February 7th, and this must have been around 1 p.m. more or less, 12:30, 1 p.m. So what happened was, I have the tractor parked in there, and I'm working on the blades, right? I go inside maybe for 2 or 3 minutes. It wasn't a long time. And when I come back, the key is missing from the tractor. The key went missing. There's no key, right? The key disappeared. It just vanished, right? And, please believe me, I'm a person that is highly aware of his surrounding because of this situation, right? I'm pretty sure I didn't drop the key. I mean, it's possible, right? It's possible that I made a mistake and I was thinking of something else and I dropped the key, right? It's possible, and I missed it, right? But I have to tell you, I think it's very, very unlikely given these circumstances, right? And also, given that the informant had just told me this, all these things related to this backyard, to this front yard, right? Short of 5 hours before this happened, right? And now the key of the tractor is missing. So as you can imagine, if the key of the tractor goes missing, you cannot use the tractor, right? And you cannot clean up the front yard. You would not be able to find, I'm describing my situation, right? You would not be able to find the debris and clean it. The yard, the grass would still be tall, right? And when they do this hearing on the 12th, and they send the police to do this arrest, right? Allegedly, the police will find the yard and photograph it in a state that it's deplorable, right? And anybody who sees those photos will think that a crazy person lives there, right? So that's the so they stop. I think, right, my theory is that John Miko or somebody, right, one of the Chinese that they have in there, jumped over the fence while I was inside and took the key, right? But this happened in a matter of 3 minutes, right? And I parked the tractor in that blind spot, right? Because I imagined that if they did it, it would be visible from above, right? But anyhow, it's not the end of the world, because and this is one of those things where they got bitten by their own actions. Why? Well, because when I bought the tractor, right, this was maybe in June 2024. They've been doing these ruses to me for years, like, and I don't take it personally. Like, I know it's part of the job, right? I mean, to fight with the Chinese. If you're doing a tech company, you have to fight with the Chinese. Like, there's no escape from that, right? So they did this ruse when I bought the tractor. They did these two ruses, actually. The first one, they brought the tractor with the tank full of water. I mean, not full of water, but it had water, right? So the tractor only worked for like 10 minutes, and after that it died, right? Because of course it had water in the tank. I had to return it, and then they sent another one, right? And this was Lowe's, which is owned by Diosdado Cabello, really. So they sent another one, and that one, no, I canceled it, and then I bought it at another store, I think. Yes, I bought it directly from the dealer, right? And that one, they sent it to me. But when they gave it to me, then this dealer did not give me the keys, right? And all this is by design, like, it's so I could not cut the grass, and Phil Denning could harass me for the yard being supposedly not well maintained and send me those harassing emails, right? So I mean, there's a reason behind all this thing with the tractor, right? But when that happened, I'm telling you this not to complain about the harassment. I mean, I'm used to it, but to tell you that when that happened, that they gave me the tractor without the key, I learned that the key is really a toy. I mean, this key of these particular tractors, Jean Deere, the key is not really a security feature. I mean, you can use any key. You can use a paper clip and it will turn on, right? At least this model that I have. Maybe bigger tractors are different. It's possible, right? But this small tractor that I have, which is basically a toy tractor, you can turn it on with any key. It doesn't, as long as the key enters in the hole, it turns, right? It's not a security feature. It's just, I think it's more like so a kid doesn't turn it on, right? But in fact, it's so much so that the keys, they sell these keys at the hardware stores, and you don't have to customize them. They're a shelf and they're full of keys, and you pick any key and it works, right? So what I did is that I used another key and I turned it on and I did the yard, right? But the fact that they went to the extent to steal the key to try to prevent me, so I think, right, what they were hoping was that I don't find the key. I think that I drop it and I can't find it, and then I give up, right? And I put the tractor back in the backyard and I don't cut the front yard, right? I think that was the objective, right? If you ask me, given the situation. If it had been any other day, I would think I dropped the key and I lost it, right? But it's too coincidental. Like, it's something that is too beneficial for Phil Denning and Robert Mueller and these people, right? And Greg Abbott, right? I mean, it would really benefit Greg Abbott if I if I'm put in jail on the 12th, on February 12th, right? It would be like a gift from the skies to him, right? Because I reported him to the IRS, right? If I'm disappeared into a jail in Fort Bend County, it would be the best thing that could happen to Greg Abbott, right? And Robert Mueller and Phil Denning. Particularly because I'm suing Phil Denning and Greg Abbott in the federal court, and now their name is in the document in the Supreme Court, because that document that I filed with the Supreme Court is basically asking to, Judge Hittner to get out of the way so I can file my complaint, right? And in that complaint, they are named Greg Abbott as the first defendant, and Phil Denning is the fifth or the sixth defendant, right? So both of them are in that document that is on its way to the Supreme Court right now, and will be there on Monday at 8:30 a.m. So if the thing with the jailing on the 12th succeeds, it would be the best thing that could happen to Greg Abbott and Phil Denning, right? So for that reason alone, I think this was designed. It wasn't a coincidence, right? I don't think I lost the key. I think they took it, right? But anyhow, it didn't work, because I know since more than a year and a half ago that this key is a toy key, right? That I can turn that tractor on with my finger. And that's one example, right? I had to learn that because they already pulled off a ruse with the key of the tractor a year and a half ago, and I was forced to learn this, right? If they hadn't done that, I wouldn't know that, right? And maybe I would have given up today, and they would have done the thing, right? But that's the thing, like they already exhausted all the ammunition they have, right? Well, now what they do is repeating techniques, and I already seen them before. So it's when I tell you I already been on this play, right? And because I already been to this play, I know how it ends, right? And I know how it works. So it doesn't work. Yeah, so you see, nobody follows me to the FBI, right? I don't know. These people, well, they sent a woman, because, that's the other thing that they do, right? The cowardice levels that they have. So what they do, they send the woman. So the other thing that they did, and this was kind of funny, as I was cutting the front yard, they dispatched the bartender 2.0. And this is a character that they have. It's a long story. I'm not gonna repeat the story because it will be like half an hour. But this character is described in the book. It's a character that they have that sometimes they bring to Lake Point Estates. They brought the bartender 2.0 to walk in front of my house with a dog, okay? And he did not have a shirt on, so his torso was exposed, right? And this is also described in the book. This is a TTP. When they want to do something confrontational, they do this, and I believe is because they want to show that the person is not armed, right? So if there's a confrontation, physical confrontation, and the police arrives, the police is not going to shoot a person that doesn't have a shirt on, because it's visible that they don't have a weapon, right? But they might shoot the other one, right? I believe that's the motivation, because I've seen this before, where when there's a high confrontational situation, they bring the person without a shirt. And they've done this dozens of times, and some of them are even documented in the book. So they brought the bartender 2.0 shirtless to walk a dog in front of my house twice in a minute. So he went in one way and then he turned around and came back. Both times in front of my yard, and the dog was trespassing. Like, the dog was inside of the property lines, right? And I have the no trespassing sign there that Phil Denning is suing me for, right? So I believe it was a provocation, right? It was a way to provoke me. Oh, and during all this incident, the bartender 2.0 was filming me with his phone, right? As his dog was walking in my front yard that I was cutting, right? So I think it was a way to provoke me, right? To provoke me into telling something offensive to him, and then he would have a recording that they would show to the judge on Thursday, right? Because now that I'm cutting the grass and they see that what they had planned is vanishing, right? As the day is passing, they have to fabricate another evidence, right? And I imagine the idea was that, bring this man to provoke me by trespassing and making the. And remember, I'm a person that has been harassed by these people for a year and a half, right? With this front yard, in multiple ways, right? So, they sent him to provoke me, right? In that way. But I didn't tell him anything offensive, but I did tell him, right? Hey, please. I used the word please, and I said it without being aggressive or yelling or anything. Say, hey, please. But he was filming me. I could see that the camera of his phone was pointing at me during the entire time. So I don't know. Let's see how they're going to use that, right? I imagine it's for the February 12th hearing. But you see, this is the danger of the judiciary officers and the judges working with foreign intelligence officers, right? This guy is probably FSB. I'm saying that because of the color of his skin, right? He's very white, and he looks European. He doesn't look Venezuelan. So it's dangerous, right? Because then the judiciary officers, the judges, because they know the law, they know how they could put somebody in jail, and they know what evidence they need to make it justifiable, right? So at least it's justifiable. And then they send the intelligence officers, or criminals, to fabricate the evidence, right? To create the evidence in whatever way necessary. Like sending this man to provoke me, for example, or planting debris in the front yard, or that's fabrication of evidence. That's what it is, right? Ruses to fabricate evidence, or tampering with the tractor so you cannot cut the grass, right? I'm talking about 2024. I mean, that's what they were doing in 2024, right? To create the pretext for Phil Denning to email me with those harassing emails saying that my yard was a disaster, right? To justify Phil Denning kicking me out of my home. I'm gonna just drive here to get the plates. But it's the same, right? I mean, it has escalated, right? Now they're trying to put me in jail. 18 months ago, they were trying to create emails, right? An email paper trail to paint me as crazy because I had not captured the database. They were doing that for the intellectual property lawsuit that they were preparing with Max, right? And with Miller and those people. But now, because now I got the database, it has escalated, and now they're trying is to put me in jail. So they need more serious evidence, right? They need to fabricate more serious evidence. So that's the reason. So that's where we are, right? But this is what I was saying at the beginning, that this tells me that they are going to put the chicken wing at risk, because that's a question I had in my mind, right? Will they risk the chicken wing? The chicken wing is irreplaceable. Will they take that step, or will they say, well, enough is enough, let's give the child back and let's roll it back, right? Let's pretend that this was a misunderstanding. And yes, we may have to sacrifice 7-8 judges, but we'll save the chicken wing. Or we're gonna move forward with this, we're gonna try to put him in jail, and if we get caught, we all go down, including the chicken wing. It seems to me, because they're until 5 hours ago or 8 hours ago, they were still trying to fabricate evidence for the 12th. This tells me that they're moving forward, right? Because otherwise they wouldn't have stole the key of the tractor. Why steal the key if they had already given up, right? So they have, even with the document arriving on Monday to the Supreme Court, they have not given up. They keep trying to fabricate evidence for the 12th. So I mean, the only logical conclusion is that yes, they are going to risk the chicken wing. Right? So I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting because that could be a world-changing event. Not because of the chicken wing itself, but because of what's behind the chicken wing, right? The chicken wing comes with attachments. So it could be a world-changing event, and that thought is exciting to me. It's exciting. I mean, they're going to change the world. Not me. They, right? They're going to make a decision that is going to change the world. So it's interesting. It's interesting that we are able to witness this real time and understand what's happening, because when these things happen in history, usually nobody understands them, right? Until after they had happened and it gets discovered what happened, right? But in this situation is different because it's happening, and as it is unfolding, we are all understanding what's happening, right? So this is a novel situation. I don't know if this has happened before in history. Really, it's one of the things that puzzles me, right? Whether this is something that has happened before. I'm going to tell you something. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong here, right? But I have the intuition that one day I will give in one of these demos inside of that headquarters. Inside. One day I'm going to do this inside. And I'm going to present the photo of Greg Abbott in the biggest screen, but inside of the headquarters. I don't know. It's one of those things that I can see that could happen in the near future. Particularly if they keep this going, right? If they insist on this thing. So let's see. So I think let's do an exercise here. Let's look who are the top dogs in this area. Okay. So I'm gonna do a little bit of research here. I don't know. The idea here is to see, right? Because I imagine when the FBI comes across this, they will want to know who is spying on their headquarters, right? I would want to know. So let's look at FBI Houston, right? In spyhell.org. So you see, if you check the cameras, nobody has followed me for the last, 20 minutes that I've been, driving on this street on rounds, right? No car has intercepted me. They're doing it on that street, like they're waiting for me there, but they don't get over here. So it's interesting. Okay, so there's a couple of guys with more than 1 million points in crypto, about 700 meters from here. Well, I'm saying guys, could also be at an apartment complex, right? But let's see what it is. No, I don't like this one. This one is on a park. So it could be like a communication point. There's a guy with 2 million. Who's this? Oh yeah, this one I like. Okay. It's the building that is next to Custom Graphic Design U.S.A. Let's go there. It's 5550 Bingle Road. Let's go there. 5550 Bingle Road. not the 3.5, right? Yeah, so you can see here, right? The immune geoentities pattern, right? So this guy,
Now
well, it seems to be a company,
onto
right?
West 43rd Street.
But you can see how it's shielded by these 3 baseball fields over here. And a park, 2 parks, and an empty lot, right? So you can see right there that it's an apartment building, right? So that apartment building is a
Now
hub,
bear
right?
right onto Northwest Freeway.
So those people in that apartment building are spying on the FBI, right? Imagine that. So let's go there. Because that has to be high liability, right? I mean, if you're spying on the FBI next to their headquarters, you have to be prepared for anything, right? A raid, whatever. So let's see.
In 1,000 feet, turn right onto Bingle Road.
Yes, but the thing with the tractor, it was super interesting because, I mean, it felt like such low-level petty harassment, but with a high reward, right? I mean, if they had pulled it off, if I had given up,
Now turn right onto Bingle Road.
right, then the grass would be uncut. The yard would, and I imagine, right, what they were going to do was to cut the grass of the neighbors the day before, right? Or while I was in the hearing, right? So when the police came, the other 2 yards are pristine, and mine looks horrible, right? Because by comparison, right? You have to, I mean, to make something look horrible, you have to, well, sabotage it with the debris and all that. But the other thing you have to do is make the comparables, the ones that are, on the sides, look better. Right? That way mine looks worse. So that's interesting. But they went to the stand to steal the key in a very short window of time to do this, right? To try to make me give up from cutting the grass.
500 feet, bear right.
So this tells me that yes, this is exactly what they're gonna do, right? And they're going to risk the chicken wing.
Now bear right.
Yeah, don't wait for me. I'm coming to your home. Wow, they have the police. Is that the police? No. Really? Yes, imagine that. They have a constable here. Imagine how important these people are. Harris County. And the plate is 1574578. I mean, put this in perspective, right? So these people
Now turn right.
are one of the highest ranking top dogs. I mean, this apartment complex, right? Next to the headquarters of the FBI in Houston. And they have a constable car parked outside. Wow. You know where I saw this pattern before? There is an apartment complex. I think it's 700 Cobia Drive, if I recall correctly, in Katy, right? Which is the one that has the finance top dog, the highest one in that area, right? And I think in demo M1 or M2, I went there, right? In that apartment complex, multiple times I've been driving over there, and they have a truck that looks like this. It's a truck of a constable parked outside, like watching the complex, like, and it's a dead end street, right? So it's not like the cop is there and it's manned. Like there is a cop inside of the car, It's not like the cop is there to put traffic tickets because it's a dead-end street. Who's going to speed in that street? Nobody, right? The cop is there
In 500
serving
feet,
as security.
make a U-turn
Right?
at Grove Crest Street to stay on Bingle Road.
But so this was interesting. So they have
Now make a
that cop in
U-turn
there.
at Grove Crest Street.
I mean, and this is next to the headquarters, right, of the FBI. So that is interesting.
Now make a U-turn at Millport Street.
So I mean, put that in perspective, right? What
Now
that means.
make a U-turn at Groveville Street.
I mean, from a higher level, right? That means the police forces controlled by Greg Abbott are contributing to the espionage on the intelligence services of the federal government. So I mean, this is a conflict of interest between the state government and federal government, really. And providing comfort, I mean, using the state police to provide comfort to foreign intelligence, so the adversaries of this agency. I don't know. It's treason, really. That's what it is. And I don't mean to be dramatic or anything, but that's what it is. It's treason. I mean, what more comfort would it be than having a police officer guarding where the foreign agents live? I mean, there's no more comfort than that, right? Okay, but we learned something today. What we learned is that I can give these demos in the vicinity of the FBI and they won't follow me, right? I mean, they won't follow me while I give the demo if I give it in that area. So that's interesting, right? So I could maybe communicate in that area. I don't know. I have to study the layout. Let's go back there again. Here's the antenna. So this antenna has to be super interesting because, I mean, this is the antenna that would connect to the cell phones of the people that work in the headquarters of the FBI. No? I mean, this has to be one of the most interesting antennas in the world. So, you know, let's see what is in here. Is the obvious thing. Is the obvious things to do, right? We have to see what is in here. See, so they have all the cars parked Moscow style. So these cars are really sensors, right? To capture things coming to that antenna. That's what they are. That's why they're parked on the street. Moscow style.
Now turn right.
Wow. I think, I don't know, I don't mean to overstep, but
Now turn left.
if I could suggest something, I think the FBI should come here and take all these plates. Right? See who are the owners. I'll run the place through the pipeline, the offline pipeline, and see. Wow, so this is a super antenna. Look at that. So I imagine these people that live right behind the antenna, right?
In 500 feet, turn right onto West Tidwell Road.
This is interesting. So in this apartment complex that is right behind the antenna, exactly behind the antenna, they have one of those garages that really look like an office. Like there's one that is described in one of the demos. I don't recall the number, but I've seen this pattern before. It's like a garage, but they turn it into an office. Right? There's one like that right behind the antenna. Literally behind the antenna. Feet away. Right? I mean, and this is antenna that connects to the cell phones of
Now
all the people that
turn right
work
onto West Tidwell Road.
in the headquarters of the FBI. Right? This is so interesting. I think I'm gonna come here, but with the armor car next time. So interesting. Yes, so people from the FBI, I have bad news for you. They have you under heavy surveillance. I mean, your cell phones, at least. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, I mean, there's hundreds of cars. All these cars are sensors, really. And this is described in the book. Yeah, these people, I don't know. So I don't know, if I may suggest, check the logs of this car, and you'll find the street that I'm talking about, right? Yeah, so in conclusion, the information I got from the informant this morning was very good, right? Because he warned me about, the plan.
Now turn left onto Bingle Road.
And I was able to verify that. It checks out. It's exactly what they're going to do. And then, seeing that they stole the probably, right? I didn't see them stealing the key. I have to say that, right? But it seems too coincidental that this happened, today. In light of all these other things, right? That the informant told me that happened to be true, including that the registered agent in Delaware quit. I didn't know that. And the thing with the IRS form is pending, right? I still have to work on that. I'll see if I can finish that today. I mean, I'm building a system to be able to transfer that information securely. To make it not work, right? What they're trying to do with the specific form IDs that they put in the letter. I have a way to disable that.
Now turn left onto Pinemont Drive.
But I have to finish working on that. It's not ready. It's almost ready, but not ready. So after I do that, I will be able to do the form.
In 500 feet, turn sharp right onto Northwest Freeway.
But that's the other attack, right, that they're planning with the IRS.
Now turn sharp right onto Northwest Freeway.
So that also confirms to me that they're still not giving up, right? That even seeing that this isn't now at the Supreme Court, they're still not giving up.
Now turn left onto Northwest Freeway. In 500 feet, take the US 290 East ramp on the left. Now take the US 290 East ramp on the left.
Well, and the other, I mean, it could be that they're not, I mean, it could be that they're not giving up because they're planning to do something with the clerk, right? Because, you know, like it's possible, right? I mean, I have no evidence against the clerk of the Supreme Court of the United States. But it's possible that they don't see risk on the chicken wing because they think they can stop it with the clerk. Right? Or with the delivery, right? Like making the delivery miss the court. But I don't know. I'm gonna verify that it got there, right? I'm gonna call the clerk to make sure that they got the file. But maybe, you know, maybe they have something planned to stop it. And maybe that's, I mean, maybe they're thinking that maybe something like that, right? Maybe not stop it, but delay it enough as to put me in jail so I cannot respond.
Interstate 10 West exit on the right.
Could be. Right. But it's you know, because I wrote this in the petition itself. That it's an emergency because they have this hearing scheduled for the 12th, and obviously they're going to try to put me in prison. So I mean that makes it an emergency. So I mean, if the Supreme Court doesn't act and they do it, it would be negligence, huh? I mean, it would be confirmatory. It would confirm that this was exactly what they were planning. But anyhow, I think the message I want to leave you with today is that if they do this, you know, it just proves that the informant was right. Because how could I have known all this today? I have no way to know this. Right? So anyhow, with that, I think I'm gonna close this demo.
Now take the Interstate 10
And
West
I'll
exit
keep
on the
driving
right.
and I'll make a few notes, but I'm gonna cut this demo here. So it's, you know, concise. Well, thank you so much and see you on the next one. Bye. So, I don't know, I just want to make a note on that thing that that observation, right? Like seeing that police officer stationed outside of that apartment complex where obviously they have, you know, a lot of agents, right? And so close to the antenna and the headquarters of the FBI, which is a federal agency, right? That works in intelligence. I don't know. It feels like there's something there that I'm not grasping, right? But because you know, usually I tend to look at the individuals, right? Like at the people that are doing this thing, but if you remove the individuals from the equation, right, and you just see what's happening, which is really a state level force, I mean police force in this case, right, actively working against the interest of the country, of the federal government. So it feels like it's something deeper than it's something deeper than Diosdado is spying on the FBI. It feels more like an internal conflict in the country, right? Because it feels like it's an internal enemy. So the enemy is the state of Texas in this case, right? Because they're working with the adversary. So how do you? I don't know. I think it's a deeper issue, right? That I cannot even grasp. But it feels like a constitutional issue. How do you address that, right? You cannot declare war well, I don't know. I'll have to research. This feels like one of those things that I have to ask an AI, right? Has this happened before? Like, well, I guess yes, right? Probably, right? Like, I think this is the kind of things that I don't think it's going to be the case here, right? Because this, if you remove Abbott from the equation, the problem stops, right? But I guess, right, in other scenarios, this is the kind of thing that could lead to a civil war, right? Or to when a state wants to become a country, right? It could unfold into a situation like that if it's not stopped in time, right? But it feels like a deeper issue because it feels like an internal enemy, like, and it's not a person, right? It's an entire institution. Possibly, right? The majority of the institution of the state of Texas, right? So it's a very systemic problem, I guess, and touches on it creates conflicts that are constitutional conflicts, right? And touch on the relationship between a state and the state government and the federal government, right? So I don't know. I'll have to chat with the AI about this. So I just wanted to record that.